Hey, what's up? It's Matt in Japan coming at you today with Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Netflix Decepticon Soundwave. And there he is in all his glory. And as you can see, he has the red eyes and that light piping is just shining right through the packaging. And that is just so awesome. I'm really happy to have this sort of true to form G1 style Soundwave with the red eyes, as opposed to the yellow that they had on the Siege version. And we will be bringing in that Siege version later on to do some comparisons. But just to take a quick look at the packaging, he does have a very, typical Netflix packaging. You get the sort of black splattered paint there at the bottom, Transformers logo and all that. On the side, you get a cool picture of Soundwave there, done in black and white with a little bit of purple. On the other side, you get your Earthrise picture, Netflix original series, done in black and white with red highlights there. That is very cool. On the bottom, you just get your product information, nothing special. And on the back, you see Soundwave, and he comes with his minions, Ravage and Laserbeak, and his cassette mode, which is really cool. I can't wait to get this guy open. So, without further ado, let's get this guy open and see what he's all about. Okay, so here we have Netflix Decepticon Soundwave out of the packaging, and we'll get to him in just a second. But first, I want to take a look at the cassettes and how they differ. So first of all, let's take a look at Laserbeak up close and personal. And right off the bat, you can see that they have done a lot more with the paint apps on this version. You get the really nice highlights of the yellow and the blue here. And just bringing in the Siege version, you can see just how much different it is. And I really like what they've done with this. A lot more color, and it just looks better in my opinion. And I do have the G1 cassette here. So this is actually a reissue, but you get the picture here. And actually, they really did a bang-up job as far as depicting that image from the G1 cassette. So really cool, really nice. Next, let's go on to Ravage here. And again, I think the Ravage cassette looks more like a cassette. You have these sort of silver painted wheels here where the cassette would actually turn. You have a really nice detail of Japan right there, it says. And then a really cool throwback to the Microchange series, MC60 there. And to me, it just looks like more of a cassette than the Siege version. Speaking of the Siege version, bring him in for a comparison. The Siege version was nice. It did have some purple on the middle there and some nice silver paint. But to me, I think the Ravage in this Netflix version looks a lot better. Now, I don't have the Ravage, the G1 Ravage, so I can't make a comparison there, but they did a really nice job with that. So, let's take a look at the alternate modes for the cassettes, and then we'll dive into Soundwave himself. Okay, so here we have Netflix Soundwave out of the packaging, and we'll get to him in just a moment, but I'd like to take a look at the comparisons between the cassette tapes, Laserbeak and Ravage. So we'll start with Laserbeak here, and bring in Laserbeak here, and the Siege version. You can see that the head sculpts are very different, and I think the Earthrise is much more true to form here as far as the G1 aesthetic goes. And other than that, it's the exact same mold. The only difference, again, is they have the Decepticon symbol on the back, whereas they put the Earthrise Decepticon symbol on its head, and I think that head sculpt is just a lot more accurate to the G1 figure. And bringing in that G1 figure, you can see the similarities there. So I think just the shape of the head and the beak and all that is just more reminiscent. So that is a very nice attention to detail. And one more thing before we get into Ravage. If you fold up his legs, there is a tab here that folds out. And one of the things I always hated about the Siege version is the Siege version just had that little sort of grooves on his arm. Let's just bring that in real quick. Had the grooves on the arms where he would just kind of be perched there, kind of just sit there, and it always fell off. But on this version, put up the legs, you have this little peg here, and on this side, you actually have a hole this time, so you can plug that right in, and that is not going anywhere. So you can have Soundwave with his minion Laserbeak, telling him all the information about the Autobots, and that looks really cool, and that's very stable, and it's not going anywhere. So we'll leave Laserbeak there. And let's just take a look at Ravage. Here is the Earthrise Ravage. And again, this is very much similar, aside from the head sculpt. If you do look very closely, the head is a little bit different. And bringing in that Siege Ravage, you can see that the Siege had the red painted eyes with a closed mouth. And let's take a look at that Earthrise head, and you can see that it is actually a different sculpt. And again, I think it looks a lot more fierce, and just with the open mouth, it looks a a lot nicer in my opinion. I do like the red painted eyes on the Siege. I'm kind of wish they had done that on the Earthrise version, but nonetheless, it is really cool. So a little bit of changes to the cassettes. So we will take those cassettes out of the way. Let's get Laserbeak off of here and let's get into the meat of this video, which is Soundwave himself. Yeah, that's a very secure connection there. So anyways, bringing in this guy up close so you can just see that light piping, that really nice light piping shining through. And you get some really beautiful paint on the chest here. You get a sort of yellow with the gold accents here. You do get a little design work, sculpted detail on the plastic here. Nice Decepticon symbol front and center. And you do get some paint apps here on the upper shoulders. And going down the figure, you do get some silver paint here, which this is actually the faux buttons here for robot mode. You actually get different set in cassette mode. And going down, you get some really nice silver paint on his legs and get some nice yellowish gold paint there. And turning around, you get some nice sculpted detail. And there you do, on the back, you do see the actual buttons for the cassette mode. And also something you don't see on the Siege figure, they actually molded in all this part on the back here, and that looks really nice. So really cool sculpted work on that. So bringing in the Siege version, let's take a look at the differences between him and his Siege self here. So right off the bat, you can see that the head sculpt is totally different, and the Earthrise head sculpt is much more G1 accurate. Going down the figure, again, you don't have all the battle damage. This looks a lot cleaner, and you do get a little bit differences on the arms. You get more paint on the Earthrise version. And it looks like the lower arms are the same, sculpted, just a little bit different gray plastic. The Earthrise is a little bit lighter in plastic. And going down, you do get the difference in waist. The upper legs are different. The knees are different. The whole legs have been remolded. So this is actually a very, very different mold. I think the feet are exactly the same. But yeah, a lot of differences. And it seems like all the stuff that was wrong with this figure, they fixed in the Earthrise. So very nice. And also the back, of course, you don't get that that heavy backpack there because of the sort of spaceship mode that we had in the Siege. And it looks like the back of the legs are the same. A little bit different because you do have the sort of molded in wheels right there. And also on the inside of the legs here are obviously different because of its alt form. So just bring in G1 Soundwave here, just for a quick comparison. He towers over the Earthrise version, but yeah, you can see the head sculpt is a lot more faithful, I think, to the G1 version as far as its shape. And I do prefer the Earthrise version. So anyways, let's get into, I'm not going to go into articulation because it's pretty much the same as the Siege figure, but I will get into the accessories. So it does come with the same exact accessories. The only difference is the Earthrise gun is molded in a little bit darker plastic than the Siege. So on the top we have the Earthrise, on the bottom the Siege. So it's a little bit different gray. So you can see the little bit difference there. Other than that, the cannons are exactly the same here, except the Earthrise doesn't have the red stripe on them. So it is the exact same mold that they use for that. So there's no real difference there. And actually his shoulder cannon is also, doesn't have that red stripe on there. So a lot of differences. Yeah, again, I think this version is just a lot nicer. And obviously you can take your Laserbeak and fold him up. So I'll just transform this guy real quick. Put his head down like this. Oh, actually, got that wrong. Put this up, put his head down first, fold that down. And the cassettes do fit right in his chest, so just pop that open. And again, the inside of the cassette chamber here is, all that molded detail is the same as the Siege version. So you can have your cassette in there. Oops, forgot to put that down. So you can put your cassette in there. And it fits nicely in there. So now he does have that same sort of double jointed elbow here. So he's able to actually push his own button there so he can eject. Let's see if I can get this right. Yeah, there you go. So he can actually eject Soundwave. And actually on the Siege version, it was a lot stiffer. When I put the cassettes in the Siege version, it seemed like a lot stiffer to get that out. So this seems a lot more smooth and fluid as far as opening. So there we go. So yeah, really cool. I'm really happy with all the changes that they made. So we're going to pause and actually get into transformation. I don't normally do transformation on camera, but I will do it this time because I've had some people request that on the picture I posted on Reddit. So we'll try and get into that right now. All right, let's get Decepticon Soundwave all transformed. So we'll take him, turn him on the back. Very much like the Siege version, this piece folds down and there's a cavity for his head. Fold his head down. There are 2 tabs that'll go into that slot there, so just push that up. And then we will turn to the arms, and what you want to do is just take the arm and just fold, turn the lower arm so you see that hollow cavity there for his fists to go into, and we'll fold up his fists. And then what we want to do is we'll turn this 180. And then on the hinge here, this folds out. There's 2 hinges there that fold out, and there are pegs here that'll slot into these places here. So you just want to fold those in. And there are 2 connection points here. There's 1 tab here and 1 tab here, and there's 2 slots. So you want to just take those and push them together. And if you do it right, you get a nice secure connection. So it's nice and tight. So the top part is pretty much done. So what you want to do now is turn to the legs. And much like the Siege version, again, these shin parts open up. So you want to fold these out, fold in the feet, fold this part out. And under here, there is a tab that will slot into the bottom of the feet. So that fold that down, and this little tab here will just push down like that. Very nice, very good feeling on that. So again, take that, fold that out, push in the foot, and that will secure into the bottom of the foot. And again, just like that, very nice. So taking the legs and turning them this way. And I really do like this transformation. It is it's very similar to the G1 transformation, and it's very satisfying actually. So take the legs and fold them up like that, and make sure they're straight. And you can see that there are 2 tabs. There's a tab here, and there's a tab here, and that will slot into these spaces on the side. So basically, you just want to fold that up and tab that in on that side. Yeah, make sure that doesn't come undone there. And it's a very, very tight connection. And then take that and tab that in over there. Just making sure that is connected. And you do see these gold pieces that line up, so you know you've done it right. And then what you want to do is take this piece and lift it up. And there are 2 little panels that will flip out. So you want to take these, flip those out like that. And then just lower that. And there you have Soundwave in his cassette mode, and this just looks amazing. I really love all the detail they did. I just realized there's a little yellow paint on my figure right there. That's kind of annoying. Oh well. Anyways, so yeah, really cool attention to detail. You have the R for right and L for left. You get some molded in details for the speakers. You get the play buttons, which are done really nicely. Record battery. Kind of wish this was red. I think the original version had the red. We'll bring that in a second. Other than that, you can pretty much see where he turns into the cassette. And on the top, nothing really changes. The only thing is, on the back, it's a little, I don't know. It doesn't look that great from the back. That does come on tab sometimes. So. And then what you can do is to sort of stabilize this is you can take the little cannons and plug them in here. This does help with standing him up in cassette mode. So you can take these pieces here and just plug those in. Oops, I had that backwards. And that does help him to sort of sit in cassette mode. So bringing in the G1 cassette mode just for a comparison. I really do think they did an awesome job. Like I said, I kind of wish that was red there, but that was just a very nitpicky thing. And it does have the record battery there. And there they are side by side. So finally, we get a true to form G1 cassette mode. I think that's what everyone was hoping for when the Siege version came out. You know, we got that. I do like the Siege version, but that alt mode, the spaceship, funky spaceship thing, was just, it wasn't doing it for me. And I think everyone in the back of their minds was like, you know, when are we going to get a actual transforming Soundwave that transforms into a cassette player? So we do have it now. And of course, you can take your cassettes, pop that open. And again, we'll just put in Laserbeak there. And there it is. And a very nice looking cassette mode. Again, from the front, it looks great. From the side, it looks great. From the back, you know, you're not going to display it like this, so it's not a big deal. But anyways, I do appreciate all the changes that they made. And I do think that they did a really great job with this version. And I much prefer this to the Siege version. It's cleaner. And the fact that it transforms into the cassette mode is just, the cassette player mode, is just a big plus for me, and I'm sure it will be for you. This has been Matt in Japan. Thanks for watching. This is Decepticon Soundwave, the Netflix version. I would highly recommend getting this figure. Again, I got very lucky with this. I bought it off the same site that I got my Gigawatt from. And yeah, if you can get your hands on this guy, definitely get him. He's a much improved figure, and I think it's, you know, no pun intended, it is superior, as Soundwave would say. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Have a great day.